Isa Bulavanaka, welcome everybody. Malo. I'm just looking at how many people are online before we get officially started, but we seem to have quite a few. So welcome. Oh, Fo, you got a question straight away, sis. Let's go. Or is that just you saying hi? Could just be saying Malo to me. Hey, Fo. All right, Zena here from Ringahora, and it's lovely to see you all. Thank you so much for joining us today in your lunchtime. The future of skills is quite exciting, and we are really looking forward to sharing a concept and idea with you and how we are looking to develop skills and qualifications for the services sector, for the Pacific workforce now and in the future. And we're just in this session, it's about family, so it's really just encouraging everyone to have that open talanoa, share your thoughts to help us lead, shape and inform this mahi that we're about to embark on. And it's really all about, making a positive influence and impact for our people. But before we get started, thanks for just testing the buttons. Good on you, sis. Appreciate that. Just a quick moment to introduce my fellow team Ringahora, and you'll notice us with these beautiful bright backgrounds. They're quite exclusive. A lot of people from our internal team have wanted this as well, but we said no. This is just for this occasion. If I can just get Team Ringahora to do a bit of a wave, a bit of a hey, something. Yep, nice peace sign for you, Mo. Appreciate it. So we've got online Mel Harrington, our GM in Partnerships and Engagement. We've got Renelle Reddy, our Qualifications Development Facilitator. Tiana Mill, who's been awesome at letting people in, our Pacific Advisor for Qualifications and Quality Assurance. And we've got Moses Alatini, who is our Strategics Advisor Pacific, and Talia Brown, who is our Communication and Marketing Lead, who's helped us put this all together, and the Technical Guru. And myself, Zena, Pacific Transformation Lead, who will just guide us through bits and pieces of this Talanoa session. So just a couple of things to note. Welcome those that have joined us now. I think I saw Blake's name in there, so welcome, brother. A couple of things just to note is that we are going to record the session and already are. We'd love to see your beautiful faces, of course, but you are welcome to have your camera off if you don't wish to be recorded. So that's totally fine. But if you want to leave your camera on, we would welcome it. Teams channel in terms of the chat. So please feel free to add any comments, suggestions within the Teams channel, and Tiana will actually be looking out for that and raise that for us. But of course, we want to hear from you. So towards the end of the session, we'll have an open floor Talanoa, so we can come off mute. Emoji and reactions. So as you know from Teams, to make this as interactive as possible, if there's anything that we are sharing with you today that resonates with you, please do use the react emojis. And Fo, I think, sis, you can use it now. Thank you. Can I have a couple of hearts from someone, please? Thank you. I'll give myself a heart. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, team. Appreciate that. And so to help open us, and I'd like to introduce actually Mel Harrington, our GM Partnerships and Engagement, to share a few words and to open us up in prayer. Over to you, Mel.
Tātou talo lo mātou te mā o langi ia e whaamanuia I lenei vai aso. Ia te I mātou uma, tai tōtasi, I le soafa o Yesu. Amen. Thank you, Zena, and welcome everyone. You have joined the right online webinar. It wasn't a nightclub down the road from where you live, but if you want the playlist, I think we've shared it, haven't we, Tiana? Yeah, so awesome to have everyone with us today. So talofa lava, malo le soifua, malilangi e mama. Welcome, warm Pacifica greetings to you all this afternoon, and thank you again for spending lunchtime with us. So hopefully you've got your lunch next to you. And so this is the second of 3 online webinars that we're holding across the motu with our Pacific communities and with our industries. And it's a real privilege to be able to be in this role as the General Manager, Partnership and Engagement. And I've been on this exciting journey with Ringahora for the last 16 months after jumping out of central government for a very long time. So my parents, I think like many of our Pacific elders and our ancestors, wanted a better life for us. And so success was defined definitely in many different ways. One of them for me, in terms of my own upbringing, was the critical importance of education. And so I knew early on that my trajectory was tertiary education. I was not exposed to any other choices, such as vocational education or going through an internship, work experience, or even on-the-job type learning, or even just to go get a job after secondary school. So definitely my success has definitely been a reflection, and like many of us on here, of my Aina's prayers and success in getting me to where I am. But on reflection, I think what was missing for me some 25 years ago at that time was the real life work skills that would actually help me prepare and navigate the world of work when I left university. So fast forward 25 years, we now live in a time where there is a lot of choice. There's lots of different ways in which learning is delivered through work-based learning, on the job, through tertiary education, micro-credentials, online forums, and also the introduction of virtual and augmented reality. So the list goes on. Even though learning has changed and the needs of businesses and employers is changing, we're also seeing quite a significant shift or generational shift in expectations and behaviour towards the value of work and what that means for learners, for our people. So, for example, for those that may be born in the 1990s, the Generation Z, are there any Generation Zs out there? Give us a thumbs up. Maybe, yeah, no. And so they're following the millennials generation, where we will see on average, they will take up 16 different jobs in their lifetime. So that's quite different, very different from our parents' generation. But what really attracted me to this mahi here, and the focus being on services as a youngish 40-something Samoan woman, was the concept of Talanoa, so of service to others, which I know that is innately part of our DNA as Pacific people. And so I know that resonates well with majority of us, no doubt, online. So to be of service, I think, to our broad services industries, and we represent 10 very diverse industries, means for us is to listen, is to understand, and also to reflect, and then put that into action. So, and this is where you guys come in. So your voice and definitely your rich insights, the knowledge that you will bring to this Talanoa will collectively actually help propel us forward, so that we get a workforce where in mainstream they get the benefit of a skilled Pacific workforce of the future. So our aspirations, and no doubt your expectations of us, are high. We want to ensure that we have great, strong foundations and building blocks for learning, for gaining great credentials, and to also put our people on the pathway to be able to transfer some of that knowledge and that learning to any context and across multiple industries. And this definitely supports our vision as Ringahora to create a workforce where the skills that you gain can actually take you anywhere in the world. So for the benefit of those that may not know too much about Ringahora, we're one of 6 workforce development councils, and we represent close to, now we'll be about probably a million employees across 10 different diverse industries. Some of them you may be familiar with: the hospitality, tourism, retail, security, cleaning. And those that you may not be too familiar with is we also support aviation, financial services, government, business, and professional services as well. Now, we know that the reforms of education have been going for a long while, and they were put in place to set out and to create change and to deliver on the promises that we need to put the learners, we need to put industry at the centre of the development, design of skills and qualifications. We're past the starting blocks, but we know that there is definitely lots more that can be done out there. We know that the system is also is clunky, it's complex, and not as easy to navigate. And we know that it has not served our people, Pacific people, well, and that's not because of the fault of the learners of our people. It's due to the way that the system has actually been designed. So we want to really be part of influencing change, and to create success in the spaces where we can work with community, with industry, with you to co-create some solutions that meet industry and also learner needs as well. Yeah, so I know we come to the virtual table today wearing many hats. You know, we're aunties, we're uncles, business owners, government officials, we're parents, we're part of communities, church groups, and leading in our industries, and much, much more. So we're really, really looking forward to hearing your thoughts, your ideas around what works for Pacific in this space. And also just a bit of a plug, we would love to hear from anyone interested in being part of our reviews of qualifications and standards. We definitely need your Pacific voice at the table, again, to tell us what does work and what we need to avoid when we're actually trying to redesign, repurpose, or even get rid of qualifications or skills that do not meet the needs of Pacific people. So if this interests you, please get in touch with Zena, whose details will be dropped in the chat very shortly. And also we'll share her contact details at the end of this presentation. So just in closing, and in the words of our aviation sector, sit back, relax, and I have you in the capable hands of our Ringahora cabin crew. So enjoy the ride on this, your waka, Pasifika Airlines. So whawhai te le lava again for your gift of time today. Soifua Maia Manuia. Over to you, Z.
Malo, Mel, thank you so much for those wonderful words. Appreciate it. And now I'm going to hand it straight over to my brother, Renell.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tomas, Mel, and Zena. Right, so we're gonna start off with the presentation. Kia ora koutou, talawhalawa, malole, pulavinaka, and a warm Pacific greetings to you all. My name is Ronald Reddy, and I'm one of the qualifications development facilitators here at Ringahora. I'll be leading you through today's session. So thank you very much for joining us. So first of all, we're going to just go over a little bit, just a brief introduction of who we are as Ringahora, and then we're going to be moving on to discussing a little bit about our actual project called the Shaping the Future of Service Skills, FOSS as we like to call it, and then we're going to break out into a Talanoa discussion at the end led by Moses. So yeah, it's a little rundown of what we're going to be doing. So here we are. Okay, so Ringahora is a services workforce development council. Our name basically represents hands, so ringa, which is spread out, which is the meaning of hora, so facing upwards, symbolizing manakitanga, hospitality service. And our role is to channel and amplify the voice of the services sector in the vocational education system. We do this by partnering with the industry and advocating on their behalf, identifying current and future sector needs, and translating these skills gaps and needs into relevant standards and qualifications and other products. And how do we do this? We will work with training providers, we work with advice from the Tertiary Education Commission, and of course, other investment in the vocational sector. Our vision is to provide skills for life, wherever it may take you. Now, Ringahora serves around about 10, not around, but it does serve 10 industries, and some of them are cleaning, business and professional, aviation, airport, hospitality, food. And we know that New Zealand, actually, the services sector grows excellent communicators, great problem solvers, collaborators, and leaders. The changing nature of work is increasing, and the demand for these people and the soft skills that they possess. The value of these skills lies in their transferability across different sectors. And the nature of the work that we do requires them to rapidly acquire skills that allow them to perform effectively in the jobs that they do. Experience on the job demonstrates commitment to the sector. However, having a formal vocational credential shows up people are able to perform tasks and responsibilities to a recognized standard. Now, our purpose. Our sector value people with the essential and transferable skills, and they are looking for workable solutions to meet their changing workforce needs. We want to explore the idea of short, sharp, and stackable approaches of simplified credentials with our stakeholders. And we also want to get your views on exploring the concept and design of more simplified credentials that encompass the core transferable essential skills, but also complemented by stackable technical options as well. Now, a little bit of background information here. A couple of stats. Stats are always good. We've got around about 900,000 people currently employed in the services sector, and around about 7%, around 65,000 identify as Pacifica people. And if we break that down even further, we've got majority of people in the contact center, 14%, followed by cleaning and aviation. There's around about, around about 300,000 businesses in the services sector, and a third of all the workers in New Zealand work in the services sector. Now, a little bit about the our quals that we can talk about. So there's currently up to 30 services qualifications to suit our different industries at levels 2 and level 3. Our current career pathways see our people engaged in similar learning for credit towards different qualifications. We have a very mobile workforce. Our people move between industries in our sector, as we know, and want portable credentials that tell a story about their skills, competencies, knowledge, and of course, experience. So this is where the new idea comes to mind. The government's reform of vocational education said, why don't we sit down and let's look at doing things differently so that our people have the skills they need now and for the future, of course, to future-proof the industry. Now's a great opportunity to think about how the suite of service sector credentials are designed to carry this vision forward. So currently, this is how our pathways look like, very linear. So the career pathways dictates the credentials being taken. For example, someone who wants to be an attraction supervisor, let's say at Rainbow's End, can progress through the New Zealand certificates in tourism, starting at level 2 and then moving upwards. The level 2 qualifications, although tailored for a specific industry, will share commonalities with the other industries as well. Now, bearing in mind that if an assessment standard approach to achieving qualifications is taken, these standards will be reflected on an individual's record of achievement. So we think, wouldn't it make sense for our people to earn a common service credential, so regardless of the industry that they're in? If a common credential is what's needed, how would we make sure this credential provides learners with all that they need to get started, whilst also keeping them relevant for careers in our industries, workplaces, and regions? So this is what it could look like, or would look like. But before I kind of move a little further, I just want to explain to you what credentials basically mean. I'm sure we all know it, but credentials is just an umbrella term. So under credentials fall on, qualifications, micro-credentials, all of that falls under credentials. So when I mention credentials, I think it's micro credentials. It could be anything. It could be a qual. It could be anything else. So credentials is just an overarching term. So over here, you'll see that the pathway represents the common services credentials that can be followed by our people who work in different industries, but allows them to follow a specified technical route later on, or even to pivot between the industries. So for illustrative purposes, we're showing 3 potential career paths here. Remembering, of course, that our people may choose to take the experiences, skills, and qualifications from one industry within the sector to another one. For example, someone working in the tourism may progress their career in the retail or hospitality spaces. Now, this slide shows an example of the common service credential as a micro-credential. So it's showing that if we go down the pathway of a micro-credential, so not necessarily that's what we're going to do, but for example, so a learner may complete the common elements in a services micro-credential and then branch out into something more specific within a particular sector, perhaps. So what does the common elements look like? Well, we don't know at this point. We don't know what the subject's going to look like. This is where your input will be really cool, to kind of get to know from you what could these services credentials be. So right at the bottom, we can see customer service, communication, working in instruction. There's plenty more, I'm sure, and this is where your guidance would be really cool. But we also want to know about how long the duration of these programs, or how many credits it could be, or what are different levels that you want to see these common credentials sitting at. Now, the components could be a standalone, or it could be something that we stack together to build into a qualification. But again, it doesn't have to. Then there are pathways onwards to level 4 quals. We want you to think about the important things that you'd want to see in a common services credential. So what does this mean for us? So what? So it would ensure a stackable credentials approach, which will enable the transferability between industry sectors. It also meets the changing face of the workforce that we're currently in. Vocational education to be part of learner journey, and it makes it more accessible for our learners too. It also supports career progressions and qualifications options, provide options to move between the different sectors based on what a person wants to pursue, let's say. So though this mahi could be an opportunity to perhaps even create a Pacific by Pacific training provider, perhaps. So this is where I'm going to leave you for now, where I'm going to hand you over to our brother Moses, who's going to lead us into a Talanoa discussion session to talk a little bit about how we can unpack this idea. So over to you, Moses. Thank you very much.
Marobito, Ronald, thank you for your presentation. Tapu me tō tahe o tua unga whio tauro tonga, bea ko korebeki o marwatu. Me tala whatapu shano whakahoko. Tā mō whaingmari e koe ni whakato whatongia koe ni. Malo lelei, Pacific greetings. My name is Mo Walatini. People call me Mo rather than Moses. And I'll be guiding and facilitating our Talanoa session. So we've got about 25 minutes. So around 12:50, I'll sort of round it off. And then we've got some other bits and pieces. What's the next steps? A survey, and then we'll close off with our final lotu. As Zena had mentioned, we've got the raising hands function. So if you've got a question, a comment, please feel free to use that function. Alternatively, put your comments or anything that's top of mind in our chat function as well. This is a safe place, and just a reminder, be respective of our different views and opinions. So without further ado, I will fulfill fala, roll out the mat, and open up the floor for us to begin our Talanoa. Malo abito. Do we have any brave souls out there who want to kick us off? Yep, Malo.
Marala Suifo Talofa, kia ora everybody. Broadly supportive of the idea of a combined common service skills and yep, as you said, presumably it will branch off the closer you get to a specific area. I did have a question that came to mind in the previous slide that you had. Don't know what you're calling them, you know, the ones along the bottom. Is it up for discussion as well? Because the one that triggered or sparked my attention was the second one from the left, reporting or something. How do you, working under instruction? That one caught my curiosity. If you could explain that one a bit more, please. That's it.
So it's basically, for example, I'll bring that slide. So reporting under instructions. So for example, in our industry, you've got managers who, for example, employees need to kind of learn and listen to what they're being told and kind of doing what they need to. It could be part of initiation. It also could be part of how they can take on what they've been told and carrying on the work that they've been given to do. So yeah, that kind of stuff. But it doesn't have to be called that. It can be called anything else. Nothing is set on stone. It could be called anything you want, really.
What came up for you, Nat, when you saw
It was
that
just my my initial reaction was like, oh, that's like I'm being told what to do. It just wasn't the best connotation for me with that. But I know it's semantics, but I was like, what do you mean working under instructions? I have to learn how to listen. But maybe that is the point. But it will depend on the industry, right? Because you're covering like 10, and it will be because I work in government, right? So I wouldn't expect that for I suppose it depends on what part of government, because again, government is so broad and so many different types of services within government. It's just the connotation for me personally came across. I might have chosen different words for that.
So appreciate that feedback.
Great point. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Manu. Malo.
Talofa lava. Funnily enough, that's the one that I picked up on as well. Because I would have actually thought that something like that would probably be wrapped up either under communications or under teamwork. And so having it stand out alone, in a sense, that way, it's not Pacific friendly, in other words, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I too am broadly supportive of the idea. Are we looking at something that is going to be so generic that it's more entry level induction type micro credential?
Yes, it could be that. Yeah, definitely.
Malo, Manu. Do we have any other valuable insights?
I
What's
don't know
top
about
of mind?
valuable, but an insight.
Yeah.
It's
by all means.
just building on the previous comment, because are you looking at people who are completely new to working, or those who might be changing industry? And so some of this might be a bit too basic. You know, if you're shifting and you've worked for a few years, it's just how are you pitching this at which level of worker cohort, shall I put it?
At the moment, we don't have what level we'll be starting off. So we're kind of juggling between the idea of 2 and 3, but yeah, we don't know where to put it just yet. But the really cool idea is that it could be for something like an induction, what you were mentioning just before. And you're right that a lot of people who do come into the industry, they're not they're not, that's quite basic. They don't have to know this because they've done it in many different areas. So yeah, it's a good thing to think about there. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Nat. Fau.
Talofa, mā soifua maua.
Oh.
Thank you for the opportunity. I just want to tag on to what Nat raised around working under instruction, and I think that's, I think what Ronelle you were heading towards was a more foundational level basis of credential. And I guess one of the things that is, if we look at people that are career changers, you know, their communication, if they've been in whatever industry for so many years, their communication skills will be, you know, at a level that's perhaps at a level different to someone that's entering into work. So I think one of the things that would be worth thinking about is recognising prior learning, so that if someone comes in, tick, 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 you can move into this credential. We acknowledge this and have an opportunity to fill in the gaps, you know, at one particular credential and then move into the other. So I guess it should be something that's a bit nimble, which my understanding micro-credentials should be. Yeah, so that's kind of my initial thoughts at the moment as we continue with this conversation. Whaftai.
Thank you, Fau. Tora soa. Miriamba.
Talofa lava.
Oh.
I'm just listening to everyone's questions, and the way you guys answer is great. I think it's an amazing idea to have the combined common service and the common service skills. I work for Career Force, which is a WBL under Te Pukenga, and my role there is a Pacific coordinator. So I see this on a daily when I'm supporting our kunga, just being people that have been working in the industry, and that's like many people, like aunties, like people like that we could relate to, like our aunties and parents and things like that, that have been working in the health sector for like 10 plus years, but no qualification. And so it's such an honor to help them get, you know, cross that finish line, and just hear their stories and things like that. So if anything, I can relate to this idea. I guess the only question I have around it is, what kind of support will you be providing if we go into if we go along with this? Have you guys thought of any kind of support for these types of people that will be working and learning on the job?
Thank you, Miriam. I'll just throw it back to my team. Anyone want to answer that? You're on mute, Mel.
Yep. Sorry, rookie mistake. So some of the comments that we've heard, we had a Talanoa last night with a group of great people who shared their ideas, and definitely that pastoral support. So we know that learner journeys, and definitely for our people, we don't just start them and leave them. So it's important that the connections with other organisations around what that looks like for them, and supporting them, not just in their learning, but everything else, I suppose, that happens in their life as well. So we know it's important. It's part of the wraparound that is needed to ensure their success to complete qualifications and skills and everything like that. So we'll be likely relying on PTEs, you know, working with private training organisations, community groups, to ensure that that is as seamless as possible. Yeah. And we know a large proportion of our people do drop out of qualifications for that very purpose, and that they don't have the support. Some things that could be easily troubleshooted early on by establishing a good relationship with someone they trust within their learning or community environment.
Yeah, no, that's great to know. The only thing that I've seen in my current role is that a lot of our people will sign up. They get so excited, so motivated at the beginning, and that's great because we have like really good unit standards and assessments that are pretty set for their level at where they're at. But the only thing that's lacking is that ongoing support. So it's just, I think as Pacific people, we love that kind of like a person that reminds them going, oh, hey, how's it going? And, we do that quite a lot. I think it's just a common thing for Pacific people where we like like a parent saying, hey, so what's going on? It's been like 3 months. Because with on-the-job learning, as you can imagine, you've got families, you're dealing with your family, you're dealing with the stress of work, and then the last thing that your mind is on is studies. But knowing that you've got someone supportive on the background saying, hey, look, is there anything wrong? And you know what? When you reach out to that person, you find out it's just something very small, like IT, probably just signing up, and even just those little things that stops their learning. Like you said at the beginning, if you can catch them at the beginning or catch those little errors that's making their learning quite stagnant, those are just the barriers, but it requires a support team. The one thing that we do here at Career Force is that we have ongoing Talanoas. So we call them Talanoa study sessions. And so we would have them like once a month in each region. And we would call them Talanoa Pacific study sessions. And this is anyone that identifies as Pasifika. And, whatever it is, whether it's small or big, we would have them pop into these study sessions. So, maybe something like that, just to bring up some ideas with anything that's currently missing or that's probably still pending and users still putting together. Some face-to-face study sessions in each region, and just call out and just send out emails and just say, hey, or even online sessions, online study sessions. So you could have someone from WDC hold a study session for that day, and anyone and everyone could just go onto Teams and say, yep, I'm struggling, or just something like that. But I think support is a huge thing with on-the-job learning. Knowing that there's support from Pacific to Pacific is a huge thing as well. I noticed that a lot of people don't turn up to mainstream study sessions, but when I pull Pacific from Pacific study sessions, all of a sudden they come out of the woodworks. So I think that's another huge factor as well. But I would love to join in with Zena as well with the qualifications and the unit standard reviews. That would be awesome as well. So whaftaila mo le awanoa.
Malo, Miriama, thank you for the question. We got a question from Dinah and then followed by Manu. So Dinah?
Hello, thank you. I'm enjoying what people are saying. Hi, Zena. Finally made it. I just got a few things. I'm working for the Ministry of Ed now, but 30 years as a secondary school teacher, so familiar with how, studies go. And I was just thinking about what Fa was talking about for those with the skills. If they're going to do those studies, maybe you might want to consider looking at, say, this top of my head, say a level 2 paper, but at 3 entry levels. So you could have the lower levels for your school leaver who actually needs lots of work, like making sure they get to work on time. I'm hearing the same thing about some of our school leavers with WINS work brokers, the same old. So the school leaver, and also those that are probably re-entering work who have been out of work for a long time, so they might need that lower level. Then you've got your intermediary who are getting there and they're on their way, and then you've got those acknowledging those that have got those skills and have been doing the job. So all they need really is tick the box for that level 1 or whatever, so that they can automatically go to the level 4 because they're probably at that level. So that's acknowledging the different levels of where people are entering. Because you don't want somebody like you were saying, Fo and Natalie, that has been in the job for quite a while and has to start. But that's just yuck. Yeah. The other one was I understand there tends to be so I'm not too sure who the people would be doing these assessments or studies, but if you've got a tertiary provider, or particularly the PTEs who are terrible, there's a mismatch between what the business and the provider are doing. So when the provider sends out a student to get some work experience in a place, the business or the organization might be wondering, why don't they know this? Why aren't they doing it? Because there's no communication. So I think there's a constant need to ensure there's a match, particularly by the providers, because sometimes those providers, they might get, say, me, a maths teacher, coming to deliver something about, I don't know, nursing. I have no idea what nursing, but I can teach it, but I have no idea actually what the needs are in being a nurse aide or whatever. So I think there needs to be that constant connection and tutoring. The other thing is I think the standards need to be more weighted practically, because we know our people are really good with practical stuff and then do the theory, rather than the other way around, and rather than mixing it a bit. I think you need to look at standards that are more practical based, and then guide, when you've got a business that will guide the person in that, and then the theory comes alongside of it afterwards, it's much more effective. Yeah, that's what I've noticed with student, and it's probably no different with adults. The other, I had three. Is that three? Yeah. And the other one was what Miriam was talking about, making sure that the tutors or connectors and whoever's providing the courses or study are connecting really well. And maybe, yeah, I agree with Miriam. Pacific. We've just connected with a BCITO guys who are running our night classes by Pacific, for Pacific. They're getting a much better turnout of those guys wanting to be in construction. They would not go to the day classes. They just don't feel connected, or yeah. So that is evidence there and supported by what Miriam is saying. So that's me. Thank you.
Malo, Dinah. Just a final reminder, this is a safe space, respecting all our views. Malo, for your insights. Manu.
Thank you. I think there's a bit of a confusion also in the conversation about what the role of the WDC is and what the role of the providers are. So I think just some real clarity there would also help. But going back to the purpose of your Talanoa here, looking at the micro-credentials that you're looking to roll out in this case, I'm going to assume that you've already had a view on looking across the qualifications you're looking to embed into or have this micro-credential built off, that you've already identified the common skill sets to potentially build this micro-credential. The only thing I would suggest is, again, from a Pacific view, is around, I guess, I've been in quite a few other sessions where they talk about tikanga Māori and the principles and so forth. So for me, it's about actually whatever you do pull together, that we ensure that the Pacific principles, of the Tausua is actually embedded into the qualification. And so that when you're looking at types of skill sets, that you're not just looking at the standard skill sets that the mainstream currently look for in these programs. You're looking for specific skill sets that our Pacific people hold that add value to their job around the tautua, around respect for our elders, around, all that sort of stuff that can form part of your communications units
skills standard or skills that will form part of this. And as much as I'm a supporter of micro credentials that you can stack into a full qualification, all I do encourage the team to do is that you take on the Pacific lens as you're building the credentials that sits behind it. Thank you.
Malo, Manu. I think we've got time for one more question.
Sorry,
Yes,
just
absolutely.
yeah, sorry, team. Just to answer Manu's question as well. Yes, us as WDCs, we're here to respond to what the industry needs are. So we're about, developing qualifications fit for purpose for now and the future. We're the standard setting body. So whatever it is that industry needs, and also considering learners' needs as well as part of that, our role is to grab all of those insights and then work through with industry around the development of, qualification standards. We do moderation and other things as well. And then it's up to the PTE sector to be able to respond to that need. So, yeah, whereas in the past, it's probably been driven more so by PTE need, and then there's been a mismatch of what it is that industry are wanting in terms of the skills that they need in their workforce as well. Yeah, yes, and Te Pukenga also the deliverers of what it is in terms of the products that we need to fit what industry are wanting. Yeah, so hopefully that helps as some context. But thank you, Manu, for raising that. Back to you, Mo.
Kalia, do you just want to have a quick word before I pass it on to Angela?
Thank you. Yes, just in response to your comments there, Manu, about having Pacific values and building that into the qualification. Yes, we could absolutely do that. I think one of the exciting things about this proposed common service credential is having that initial micro credential with those common elements, but then we could have like a skill standard that's an add-on for Mātauranga Māori, or then a skill standard that's an add-on for our Pacific Tautua. So we can then build those elements and our technical skills that are really responsive to each individual industry and each particular learner need.
Malo, Manu, and to the team. I've got two more. We'll give it to Angela and then we'll finish off with Natalia.
Thank you. I was just thinking about if there could be provision for the transferability of some of the skill sets that people are gaining, just because with this being so influenced by employers' needs, we're at the mercy of those economic ebbs and flows all the time, with employers being able to change where their focus is going to be and what's the next thing. So that comes up that's of economic importance. So instead of being at that, like people feeling they're at the mercy of whenever there's an economic boom and then when there's a drop and then my skill set isn't relevant for this, understanding that what skills are transferable into different sectors. So people are empowered to know that if I'm in a particular role, this isn't me for the rest of my life. I could be looking at some other things as I grow and develop, and it might not be in this sector, but I've got transferability where I can move into different sectors, and just making sure people understand the importance of that. E whakoilahi, thank you. Thank you for the Talanoa today, it's great.
Malo, Angela, and our lucky last is Natalia. Malo, Natalia.
It's more just an observation when previous speakers have been supporting the embedding of Pacifica values into the micro-credentials. Forgive me if I'm using the wrong word when I say Pacifica values. Just an observation, because that is also a differentiating factor for our Pacifica peoples, and that is what is not normalized across industry, no matter what industry, especially when it comes to service. So it's just an observation that, yes, we could embed the value, but in saying that, there's also emphasizing that that is a point of differentiation for our Pacifica people that makes us stand out especially when it comes to service industry. So I'm not saying no, don't embed them into the micro credentials, but I'm just flagging the fact that that is actually what makes us stand out more. Okay, that's that.
Malo team, malo to everybody involved. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for your valuable knowledge and insights. So our next steps is that we will consolidate all these great ideas and feedback that you've provided with us, and we'll provide a sort of summary analysis of the key themes captured, and then we'll send it back to you all that have attended. And if you'd like to coordinate with us, please register on our website. The 2023 Shaping the Future of Service Skills will be on our chat. Pass it on to Zina.
Wonderful. Thank you, Brother Moses. Thank you, everybody, for the rich Talanoa. I've been sitting here busy writing a bunch of notes. I really, really appreciate the sharing across the board. So thank you. Just to finish off, we're nearing the end of the session, Shaping the Future of Service Skills. If you would like to, you can scan this QR code to fill in a survey, because we'd love to hear more from you. And all completed surveys go into the draw to win some food vouchers and a gift basket. And we just want to thank our sponsors, Manaki Management and Kapura Limited. As Moses mentioned, we are going to be sending out a copy of this Talanoa with the PowerPoint presentation, and also my email address is there, so zina.khan@ringahora.nz. Please keep in touch with myself as I'll be the main contact and connect us all through the team. And yeah, just really thankful and grateful for everyone for turning up. So thank you so much. So as we and Tiana's just going to drop my email in there as well, and you probably already have my email. I'm just going to hand it over to Moses to close us off in prayer. Thank you, Moses.
Malozi, ke tau whaas, peko kreso tau e ko sisu Christ, ko whalai o tua tau tamai, whio lau maari maani o no maho o wha, mo whakatahan, whai peo tangata. Amen. Malo.
Thank you, everyone. More there.